ito ang 106.3 Dance Radio. Dance Radio.
Prepare yourself.
Ang silid-aralan sa radyo, hatid namin ay makabagong paraan ng pagtuturo at kalaman. Mapaumaga, tanghali o hapon man yan, ang istasyong magbibigay impormasyon kahit saan man.
For something big. Alright, here we go.
106.3 Dance Radio. Doña Aurora National High School, Santa Rita, Aurora, Isabela.
This
106.3 DWDR-FM. Pre-calculus, advanced algebra, intermediate algebra, trigonometry, elementary algebra, geometry. Mga araling dapat tuklasin. Mathematics Learning Area. Mathematics kahit saan, kahit kailan. Mathematics, maaasahan inyong tututukan dito sa 106.3 DWDR-FM. Basta Dance Radio, learning is amazing!
Walang naririnig, Ma'am Ella? Hello? Hello, Ma'am Ella?
Ma'am Loy. Naririnig kita, Ma'am Loy, pero si Ella hindi ko naririnig.
Okay. Hello, Ma'am Ella?
Hello? Yan, okay na. Meron na. Naririnig na kayo.
Okay, hello. Naka-live po tayo. Sa phone na ako nag-login, kasi kanina pa ako nag-chat sa chat box. Wala atang nakakakita sa message ko. Kasi nagsa-sound check ako. Okay.
Mag-sarap na lang.
Okay. To our listeners and viewers, how are you doing today? Naririnig na ba ako? Meron na po ba? Yes, okay.
Meron, Ma'am Ella,
Yes,
meron.
ma'am.
Okay, I hope you are doing good today. Sana ay okay po tayong lahat, Nagpapatuloy ang pandemya, kaya't kami muna ay nagkakanya-kanya. At patuloy kayong inaanyayang makinig at matuto kahit hindi tayo nagkikita-kita. Welcome to Math Alive sa Facebook Live, diba? Work from home is really talaga, mga viewers natin, kung makita nyo, please bear with us, kung medyo nawawala po kami sa linya, mawala kami sa connection, wag po kayong aalis dahil hiwa-hiwalay po kami ngayon at talagang napakahirap pagka bigla kaming nawala dito. Katulad sa akin, wala pala akong boses kanina. It's January 14, 2022, Friday! Hey, hey, hey! Ang saya! Friday na! Diba? Ang live streaming pong ito ay para po sa mga grade 8 students. It's all about geometry, okay? Kaya naman lahat po ng grade level ay inaanyayahan din naming manood. Mga grade 7, mga grade 8, grade 9 and 10, manood at malay nyo kung nanood at nag-join kayo. Kayo ang mapalad na mananalo. Ang live streaming pong ito at palagi ko pong ine-emphasize ay ginagawa at pinaghihirapan talagang ine-effortan po namin para kahit hindi tayo nagkikita-kita ay maabot namin at maibigay namin sa inyo ang serbisyong todo-todo, di ba? Sa lahat po ng nanonood at nakikinig sa ating live, hello po sa inyong lahat, and of course sa aking Mudrabels, Nanay Lena, sa aking mga Junakis, ayan, kung medyo makikita nyo may tumatawid-tawid dito, pasensya na po kayo, Sa aking dalawang anak, Elijah and Trevor, and of course to my bebe. Sa ating mga kasamahan sa math learning area, na nasa inyong mga bahay po lahat, magandang araw po. At sana ay nasa mabuti kayong kalagayan. And to my partner na hindi ko siya kasama ngayon, I hope okay ka dyan, magpagaling ka dyan. And same with Ma'am Mardy, magpagaling po kayo. Hello din kay Ma'am Cora, Ma'am Delma, Ma'am Marley, Ma'am Naida, Ma'am Marife, Ma'am Marlene, Sir Sunny. Hello sa inyong lahat. Sa mga estudyante at mga anak kong nakikinig na 7 Sining, 7 Kultura, 8 FPJ, and 8 FPA, magandang araw mga anak. Join na! Yours truly is Ma'am Rowella S. Santos, and my partner is Ma'am Janice Bills A. Simon. Ayan, sige, asa ka ba partner? Ang bagong partner ko ngayon. Hello!
Andito na ma'am, nakikita mo na ba ako?
Okay, naririnig na po.
Ayan, so magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Welcome to Math Live sa Facebook Live. So una sa lahat, gusto kong batiin ang 7 Bonifacio at ang 7 Aguinaldo. At gano'n na din ang 8 Beige, 8 Burgundy, and 8 Crimson. At syempre, hindi ko makakalimutang batiin ang aking dalawang chikiting. Hello Janelle, hello si Jan, at syempre ang aking hubby. So, ngayong hapong ito ay may panibago na naman tayong live streaming galing sa Math Department. So, sabi nga ni Ma'am Ella kanina, tungkol ito sa Math 8. Pwede use ang ating mga magagaling na learning facilitators. Ella.
Okay. Akala ko naglaglag. Sorry. Okay, so let's welcome at alam ko kagabi pa naka-ready ang ating mga fasting ngayon, ano? So wag na nating patagalin ang pagpapakilala sa ating mga kapitapitagang mga mathematics teacher, Teacher Judith S. Gamilo, ayan po sila, no? And Teacher Lori Lee V. Nitura. Sila po ang ating mapapakinggang magdi-discuss ngayon. And of course, nasa kabilang linya po ang ating mga kasama para sa electronic raffle organizer, si Teacher Mylene J. Ralutina. Kung hindi nyo man nakikita silang dahilan bakit may mananalo today, Teacher Mardy C. De La Cruz and Teacher Jenny Carino. Ayan, and of course, ang presenter, Teacher Judith S. Gamilo po ba? Tama ba? Okay, and shout out na rin sa ating head teacher, Mami! I hope maitawid at dumire-diretso ang magandang koneksyon. Magandang hapon sa iyo kung nasa ka man dyan sa bahay mo. And of course, binabati po natin ang ating Assistant Principal, Ma'am Ruby R. Guillermo, to our Chief Education Supervisor of the Division of Isabela, the Officer in Charge, Sir Rodrigo V. Pascua. Magandang araw po. And of course, to Ma'am Larna San Nevado, maraming salamat po sa inyong suporta ang binibigay sa ating live streaming. Ayan. Please comment your name and section and title of the lesson at huwag kalimutang isend sa inyong mathematics GC. Our lesson today, mga anak, is all about conditions for triangle congruence. Ayan. So, yun ang ilalagay niyong title. Conditions for triangle congruence. Kaya para ma-check din ng teachers na naki-join kayo ngayon, pwede nyo i-screenshot yung comment nyo na yan. Siyempre, meron tayong objectives ngayon, hindi yan mawawala. Ano ba ang una nating objective, partner?
Okay, para sa objective ng lesson natin ngayon, una, apply deductive or inductive or indirect proving skills to show congruence between triangles using the SSS Postulate, SAS Postulate, ASA Postulate, SAA or AAS Postulate. For objective number 2, Ma'am Ella.
Okay, ang objective number 2 natin ngayon mga anak is to prove triangle congruence using the triangle congruence theorems. Ayan, so yun yung mga pag-aaralan natin ngayon. So bago natin mapakinggan ang ating RBI, meron ba tayong RBI? Tama ba, Ma'am Ju? Meron po, ano? Yes. So ibibigay na natin ang question number 1 para naman makapaghanda na kayo. Okay. So nakikita ninyo sa ating screen ang ating tanong. Okay, ready? If triangle XYZ is congruent to triangle KLM, then angle Y is congruent to blank. A. Angle K, B, angle M, C, angle L, and D, angle Z. Go, go, go! Anong kailangan nilang isend, partner?
Okay, para mag-send ng inyong mga sagot, sundin lamang po ang tamang format ng pagbibigay ng sagot. You write your name, and then followed by section. Then ilalagay nyo din question number 1, followed by the answer. At pinakalas, you need to type your city number. So ulitin po natin ha.
Yes, ulitin.
Question number 1, answer, then city number. Okay.
Okay, so we are going to select the first 10 correct answers. Kaya, join na, malay nyo naman kayo palang may correct answer. Hindi nyo alam paanong tama dyan, no? Diba? Pero dapat makikinig kayo para malaman kung alin dyan ang tama. Para maging valid ang entry, dapat sundin ninyo kung ano ang sinabi ni Teacher Janice. Ayan, so huwag kayong alis mga anak at magbabalik kami. Please, 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 kung ilan ang viewers natin sana bago kami umalis ngayon at pagbalik namin right after the RBI lesson, sana mas marami na kayo. Stay tuned. Ito na po ang ating RBI lesson.
Precalculus,
Advanced Algebra,
Intermediate Algebra, Trigonometry,
Elementary Algebra,
Geometry, mga aralin na dapat tuklasin.
Mathematics Learning Area,
Mathematics, kahit saan, kahit kailan.
Mathematics maaasahan.
Inyong tututukan dito sa
106.3
Dance Radio.
Learning is amazing! Amazing day, our dear listeners, especially to our grade 8 SSC learners. It is indeed a blessed and an exciting day because today you will be learning more about congruent triangles. I am Teacher Rowella S. Santos, your radio teacher for today. At this moment, I expect that we do are your geometry learning activity sheets for this week and your paper, pen, and ruler. If not yet, then please get them now for you will need them as we proceed to our lesson. I hope everything is set and you are now ready and excited to listen and learn from our lesson, which is about proving triangle congruence using the triangle congruence postulates. Are you ready, my dear learners? Yes, ma'am! It's nice to hear that you are ready, dear learners. Last week, we discussed about geometric figures that are congruent. When do we say that two geometric figures are congruent?
I can say that two geometric figures are congruent if they have the same shape and size, ma'am.
Very good! If we have two triangles, when do we say that these two triangles are congruent?
Two triangles are congruent if and only if their vertices can be paired so that corresponding sides are congruent and corresponding angles are congruent, ma'am.
Excellent! If two triangles are congruent, therefore, their vertices are paired so that corresponding sides are congruent and corresponding angles are congruent. Did you know that having three corresponding parts of two triangles are enough to prove that two triangles are congruent?
Really?
Yes! In verifying triangle congruence, it is not necessary to show that all parts are congruent. There are certain ordered combinations of these facts that are sufficient to verify triangles to be congruent. So, at the end of this RBI lesson, you are expected to apply deductive or inductive or indirect proving skills to show congruence between triangles using the SSS Postulate, SAS or SAS Postulate, ASA or ASA Postulate, SAA or SAA or AAS Postulate. Have you seen twins, dear learners?
Yes, ma'am.
Some are identical and others are not. What are the features that characterize them as identical twins? It is necessary that all their corresponding features are the same, like their faces and heights?
Yes, ma'am.
Precisely! For them to be identical twins, they must have exactly or almost the same features. Likewise, for two triangles to be congruent, they must have corresponding parts that are congruent. Understand, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Turn your learning activity sheets 2.3 on page 1 so you can follow me. There are 4 postulates to be used to prove that two triangles are congruent. Can you give them?
The 4 postulates to be used to prove that two triangles are congruent are the SSS or side-side-side congruence postulate, the SAS or side-angle-side congruence postulate, ASA or angle-side-angle congruence postulate, and SAA or AAS, the side-angle-angle or angle-angle-side congruence postulate, ma'am.
Thank you, dear learner. Before we discuss each postulate, what can you understand with the word postulate? Anyone?
Ma'am, postulate is a thing suggested or assumed as true as the basis of reasoning, discussion, or belief.
Yes, you are right. Postulate is a thing suggested or assumed as true as the basis of reasoning, discussion, or belief. Any more?
Ma'am, postulate is a proposition that requires no proof and being self-evident.
You are correct. Postulate is a proposition that requires no proof and being self-evident. Can you give an example of a thing or a situation that is accepted to be true and don't need any proof or evidence?
Ma'am, I believe that there is God. Even though I can see Him physically, deep in my heart, there is God.
We also believe that there is God, ma'am.
Oh, I am happy to know that at your young age, you really believe that there is God. And that's what you call faith. Okay, let's proceed.
Let's go.
Let's discuss each postulate one by one. So, listen attentively and participate actively. The first postulate is the SSS or side-side-side congruence postulate. Can you state the SSS congruence postulate?
Ma'am, SSS or side-side-side congruence postulate states that if all the 3 sides of one triangle are congruent to the corresponding 3 sides of the second triangle, then the 2 triangles are congruent.
That's correct. On your paper, draw 2 triangles of the same size. Name them triangle ABC and triangle PQR. Ready? Go, go, go! If vertex A paired to vertex P, vertex B paired to vertex Q, and vertex C paired to vertex R, what are the congruent sides of triangle ABC and triangle PQR? Ready? Go, go, go!
Ma'am, side AB congruent to side PQ, side BC congruent to side QR, and side CA congruent to side RP.
Wow! You got him right! If side AB congruent to side PQ, side BC congruent to side QR, and side CA congruent to side RP, what is your conclusion about triangle ABC and triangle PQR?
Ma'am, triangle ABC congruent to triangle PQR.
Why is triangle ABC congruent to triangle PQR?
Ma'am, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle PQR by SSS Congruence Postulate.
Exactly, my dear learners! We can use tally marks to indicate congruent parts of the two triangles. The tally marks that are used to denote equal measures of angles, arcs, and line segments are called hatch marks. Use one hatch mark for the first congruent parts, 2 hatch marks for the second congruent parts, and 3 hatch marks for the third congruent parts. These hatch marks can help you identify the postulates used. Is it clear, dear learners?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, let's have the next postulate, the SAS or Side Angle Side Congruence Postulate. Can you state the postulate?
SAS or side angle side congruence postulate states that if any two sides and angle included between the sides of one triangle are congruent to the corresponding two sides and the angle between the sides of the second triangle, then the two triangles are congruent.
Very good! Let us illustrate the postulate using your triangles, triangle ABC and triangle PQR. Use hatch marks to the given congruent parts. Side AB congruent to side PQ. Side AC congruent to side PR. And angle A congruent to angle P. I repeat, side AB congruent to side PQ. Side AC congruent to side PR. And angle A congruent to angle P. How many pairs of congruent sides and angles do we have?
Ma'am, there are 2 pairs of congruent sides and a pair of congruent angles.
That's right! Where can you find angle A and angle P?
Ma'am, angle A is formed by side AB and side AC of triangle ABC, while angle P is formed by side QP and side PR of triangle PQR.
Wow! What a very good description of the location of the congruent angles. You are right, dear learner. Those angles formed by two sides of the triangles are what you call included angles. Can you follow, dear learners?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If side AB congruent to side PQ, side AC congruent to side PR, and angle A congruent to angle P, what can you conclude about triangle ABC and triangle PQR and why?
Ma'am, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle PQR by SAS Congruence Postulate.
Fantastic! Can you follow, dear learners?
Yes, ma'am.
I hope so. Now, what is the third postulate to prove that two triangles are congruent?
Ma'am, ASA or angle side angle congruence postulate. If any two angles and side included between the angles of one triangle are congruent to the corresponding two angles and side included between the angles of the second triangle, then the two triangles are congruent.
Very good! The third postulate is what we call ASA or ASA or angle side angle congruence postulate. use the same triangles and let's illustrate the postulate.
Let's go!
Don't forget to use hatch marks, dear learners.
Yes, ma'am!
Angle B congruent to angle Q. Angle C congruent to angle R. Side BC congruent to side QR. Again, angle B congruent to angle Q. Angle C congruent to angle R. Side BC congruent to side QR. Are you done?
Yes, ma'am!
How many pairs of congruent angles and sides do we have?
Ma'am, there are 2 pairs of congruent angles and a pair of congruent sides.
Exactly! And what do you call those congruent sides?
The congruent sides are called included sides, ma'am.
You are right! The congruent sides are called included sides. The included side is the common side of the 2 consecutive angles. Can we conclude that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle PQR and why?
Yes, ma'am. Triangle ABC congruent to triangle PQR by ASA or angle side angle congruence postulate.
Absolutely! Now, let's have the last postulate. What is it?
SAA or AAS, side angle angle or angle side congruence postulate, ma'am. When 2 angles and non-included side of a triangle are equal to the corresponding angles and side of another triangle, then the triangles are said to be congruent.
Thank you, dear learner. Don't be confused on AAS or AAS with ASA or ASA congruency. In AAS or AAS, it is for non-included side, whereas in ASA or ASA is for included sides of the triangles. Is it clear, dear learners?
Yes, ma'am!
Draw 2 triangles of the same size. Name them triangle ABC and triangle XYZ so that vertex A paired to vertex X, vertex B paired to vertex Y, and vertex C paired to vertex Z. Don't forget to use hatch marks, dear learners, so that you can clearly see the congruent parts of the triangles. Angle A is congruent to angle X. Angle C is congruent to angle Z. Side AB is congruent to side XY. I repeat, angle A is congruent to angle X. Angle C is congruent to angle Z. AB is congruent to XY. Are you done, dear learners?
Yes, ma'am!
Okay. Are there how many pairs of equal parts do we have, dear learners?
Ma'am, there are 2 pairs of equal angles and a pair of equal sides.
Yes, you are correct. Can we conclude now that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle XYZ?
Yes, ma'am!
Any question, dear learners? All right. Let's check if you really understood the differences between the 4 congruence postulate after a short break.
Do you encounter problems in accomplishing the different activities in your modules or learning activity sheets?
Worry no more because your teachers are always ready to guide and assist you. You can send your questions or clarifications in 2 easy ways. 1. Call or text, and 2. Private message. So easy, right? Remember, at Doña Aurora National High School, we make amazing things possible.
This reminder is brought to you by Doña Aurora National High School and this station.
I'm back! Now, Let's have Activity 1 on page 3 of your Learning Activity Sheet 2.3 titled Identify Me. Determine the postulate that can be used to conclude that the triangles are congruent. Are you ready, dear learners?
Yes, ma'am.
In Figure 1, what is the postulate used to prove that the two triangles are congruent? Ready? Go, go, go!
Triangle FGI is congruent to triangle HGI by SAS Congruence Postulate, ma'am. Based from the hatch marks given, side FG congruent to side HG, angle FGI congruent to angle HGI, and side GI congruent to side GI by reflexive property, ma'am.
Perfect! Triangle FGI is congruent to triangle HGI by SAS or SAS Congruence Postulate. How about the second figure? Ready? Go, go, go!
Triangle NOP is congruent to triangle NQP by SSS Congruence Postulate, ma'am. Based from the hatch marks given, side NO congruent to side NQ, side OP congruent to side QP, and side NP congruent to side NP by reflexive property, ma'am.
That's great! Triangle NOP is congruent to triangle NQP by SSS Congruence Postulate. What about number 3? Ready? Go, go, go!
Triangle BCA is congruent to triangle ECD by ASA Congruence Postulate, ma'am.
Why did you say so?
Based from the hatch marks, ma'am, angle B is congruent to angle E, and side BC is congruent to side EC, and angle BCA is congruent to angle ECD.
Why did you say that angle BCA is congruent to angle ECD? They didn't have any hatch marks. Anyone who can tell why angle BCA is congruent to angle ECD?
Ma'am, even angle BCA and angle ECD have no hatch marks, we can conclude that they are congruent because they are vertical angles, and all vertical angles are congruent.
Wow! Amazing! Remember, dear learners, that in proving triangle congruence, do not assume that they are congruent without any basis or congruent parts. I'm glad to note that you have understood our lesson. You may continue answering the rest of the items in Activity 1 and Activity 3 after this episode. Now, let us summarize what we have taken today. Can you state the 4 congruence postulates?
Ma'am, if the 3 sides of one triangle are congruent to the 3 sides of the other triangle, then the 2 triangles are congruent by SSS congruence.
Perfect! What about SAS Congruence Postulate?
The SAS Congruence Postulate states that if 2 sides and unincluded angle of one triangle are congruent with the 2 sides and an included angle of another triangle, then the 2 triangles are congruent.
That is correct! How about ASA Congruence Postulate?
The ASA Congruence Postulate states that 2 triangles are congruent if and only if 2 angles and an included side of one triangle are congruent to 2 angles and unincluded side of another triangle.
You're right! And the last postulate?
When 2 angles and non-included side of one triangle are congruent to the 2 angles and non-included side of another triangle, then the 2 triangles are congruent by the SAA or AAS Congruence Postulate, ma'am.
Wow! You are all fantastic, dear learners! Now that you know, let's take a quick assessment to check if you truly understood our lesson. Write your answer on a sheet of paper to be submitted on the day of submission. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Question number 1. Miguel knows that in triangle MIG and triangle JAN, MI is congruent to JA, IG is congruent to AN, and MG is congruent to JN. Which postulate can he use to prove that the triangles are congruent? Again, Miguel knows that in triangle MIG and triangle JAN, MI is congruent to JA, IG is congruent to AN, and MG is congruent to JN. Which postulate can he use to prove that the triangles are congruent? Ready? Go, go, go! Number 2. Janet knows that AB is congruent to XY and AC is congruent to XZ. What other information must she have to prove triangle ABC is congruent to triangle XYZ by SAS Postulate? I repeat, Janet knows that AB is congruent to XY and AC is congruent to XZ. What other information must she have to prove triangle ABC is congruent to triangle XYZ by SAS Postulate? Ready? Go, go, go! Number 3. Given, if triangle EFI is congruent to triangle HGI, then angle F is? Again, if triangle EFI is congruent to triangle HGI, then angle F is? Ready? Go, go, go! Let's check your answers.
Let's go.
Number 1. Which postulate can Miguel use to prove that the triangles are congruent?
SSS Congruence Postulate, ma'am.
Very good. Number 2. What other information must Janet have to prove triangle ABC is congruent to triangle XYZ by SAS Postulate?
Janet needs a pair of included angles that are equal, namely angle A and angle X, ma'am.
Awesome! What about number 3? Angle F must be congruent to what angle?
Angle F is congruent to angle G, ma'am.
Exactly! What is your most significant learning for today's lesson, dear learners?
Ma'am, in proving congruent triangles, we don't need to prove all parts of the triangles to be congruent. 3 congruent parts are enough. Just like in our home, 1 word is enough to follow our mother's command. 2 words are too much already. Right, dear classmates?
Yes, classmate.
Oh, that's nice to hear that you obey your parents. I hope you've gained a lot of knowledge from our discussions. If you have any question in accomplishing your activities, you can contact or message your geometry teacher. We've completed our task. Wow, we're done! Before we part ways, I'd like to thank the teachers who helped create this RBI lesson. Teacher Judith S. Gamilo, our scriptwriter. Ma'am Merlinda D. Dante, our content editor. Teacher Jonah A. Buduan, our language editor. Teacher Mardy C. De La Cruz and Teacher Rufino R. Pumeda Jr., our technical specialists. I'm Teacher Rowella S. Santos, your radio teacher, leaving you this quote of Peter Drucker. Trust is congruence between what you say and what you do. Goodbye! Thank you very much and please stay tuned for our live discussion. Bye!
Precalculus,
Advanced algebra,
intermediate algebra, trigonometry,
elementary algebra,
geometry, mga aralin na dapat tuklasin.
mathematics learning area,
Mathematics, kahit saan, kahit kailan.
mathematics maaasahan.
Inyong tututukan dito sa
106.3
Dance Radio.
Learning is amazing! Dance Radio, siniparalan sa radyo, atid namin makabago, paraan ang pagtuturo.
Wala nang makakapigil pa. Sulong Arangkada 106.3 Dance Radio sa Aurora, Isabela.
Edukasyo'y susulong, basta na magtulong-tulong, sulong edukalidad. Dance Radio, learning is amazing.
And we're back! Ayan, sabi ko naman sa inyo, saglit na saglit lang. Thank you for still tuning in to our station 106.3 FM Dance Radio. O, Jibang, dali lang. Salamat po sa mga patuloy na nakikinig at mula kanina ay hindi bumitaw. Sana all hindi binibitawan. Okay. So, napakinggan po natin ang ating RBI lesson sa ating geometry. And now, so I think, hindi ko na patatagalin ito, partner, ano? Tatawagin na natin ang ating facilitator para maumpisahan. And after that, magbabalik kami para sa unang winner ng ating question number 1. Let's welcome Ma'am Lorely ba? Ma'am Judith S. Gamilo. Okay. Go, go, go po.
No, ma'am. Ma'am Lorely. Hello.
Okay, ma'am. Tama yung bell ko
Okay.
pala kanina. Practice lang. Ma'am Lorely Vinitura, nung isang linggo pa niya talaga ito na
Oo nga.
Kaya salamat naman at
Okay
may tulog na siya ngayon. Ganda ng ngiti.
Yes.
Go, ma'am.
Naririnig ba ako, Ma'am Ella?
Yes po.
Maliwanag ba?
Sobrang
Okay. Good
liwanag
afternoon. Good afternoon, Ma'am Ella, and to all math teachers. Good afternoon, our dear learners. Shout out sa aking mga estudyante, 8 Tangerine, 8 Purple, 7 Zamora, and 7 Sulaiman. Sana ay meron ding nakikinig sa inyong mga anak. I hope. Kaya hiling namin na sana patuloy kayong makinig at tumutok sa ating mga RBI dahil ginagawa namin ito para sa inyo mga anak. Okay? Okay, let us now start. Are you ready? Okay, let us start with the statement. When are two triangles said to be congruent? First, are you aware of the symbol of congruency? Have you seen a symbol, a combination of equal sign and a similar sign? Yung equal sign na merong parang nakahigang S sa taas niya. Okay, so that is the symbol of congruency, which means equal size and equal measure. So, when are two triangles said to be congruent? Okay? Two triangles are said to be congruent if their corresponding sides are equal in length and their corresponding angles are equal in measure. So they are congruent. Okay? So let us discuss about corresponding parts. What are the corresponding parts of a triangle? Do you know the three parts of a triangle? Okay, we have the vertices, the angles, and the sides. So, to determine whether two triangles are congruent, let us describe their vertices. So, we have here B, C and F, A and O. Okay. So, we can say now that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF because their vertices A correspond to vertex D, vertex B correspond to vertex E, and vertex C correspond to vertex F. Yung arrow dito na magkabilaan ang kanyang arrow ay binabasa natin as correspond, which means they are congruent. Okay, we have the second parts, angles. So, angle A, lalagyan natin ito ng hot mark. Angle A, congruent to angle D. Angle B, congruent to angle E. And angle C, congruent to angle F. And the last part, sides. So we have three sides congruent or corresponding. So side AB correspond or congruent to side DE. Side BC correspond or congruent to side EF. And side CA congruent or correspond to side FD. So we can say that these two triangles are congruent if all the corresponding parts are congruent. Therefore, triangle ABC congruent to triangle DEF. Paano kung iba yung pagkakasabi natin ng triangle, kagaya ng BAC? Ano naman ang congruent triangles natin? So it follows na pagka BAC, ang magiging arrangement naman ng kabilang triangle ay EDF. Pagka naman CAB, the congruent triangle must be FDE. At kung ang congruent triangles natin ay ACB, ang corresponding or ang kanyang congruent triangle must be triangle DFE. Nakukuha ba natin mga anak? I hope maliwanag sa atin ang corresponding parts of these two congruent triangles. Okay, let us have another. We have here a figure and you are asked to name the corresponding parts. Okay? So we have here triangle ACF and triangle ACR. So meron tayong mga nakamarka dito. What have you noticed about our figure? Meron tayong common side. Mamaya malalaman nyo kung ano ang tawag natin dito sa common side na ito. Okay, so what are the corresponding parts of this congruent triangle ACF and triangle ACR? So the congruent vertices or the corresponding vertices are A congruent to A. So this is vertex A congruent to vertex A. C congruent or corresponding to C. And F is congruent or correspond to point R. Angles. So the same, angle A correspond to angle A. Angle C correspond to angle C. And angle F correspond to angle R. And for the sides, we have side AC correspond to side AC. Side AF correspond to side AR. And side CF correspond to side CR. Okay? Nakuha ba ninyo mga anak? So pagkadalawa ang congruent triangles natin, meron siyang tatlong parts na corresponding vertices, angles, and sides. Okay, so let's go back to the first question given a while ago, Ma'am Ella.
Ayan, thank you so much po, Ma'am Loy. At mamaya, magbabalik kayo dyan. Abang-abang lang tayo sa kanyang pagbabalik. Okay, so sabi nga po ni Ma'am Lorly, we are ready for question number 1, winner. Ang correct answer po natin kanina sa tanong, kung maalala nyo, no? Ayan. Ang tanong kanina ay binasa ko at syempre, babasahin na natin ang correct answer. And the correct answer is letter C. Tama po ba?
C. Letter C.
May palitin na. Okay, letter C. Ayan. So, congratulations po in advance sa mga nagsipagsali, nag-send na kanilang answers. At sa first 10 nakasali sa ating roleta na makikita natin ngayon, na iikot-ikot at papaikot-ikutin dyan. Congratulations po kahit hindi kayo mapili. Yung participation pa lang ninyo, panalong-panalo na kayo dyan. Ayan, sino kayang mananalo, partner? Tignan natin sa ating roulette. O, diba? Saan na kaya? Ready? Okay. Sige, tingnan natin. Ayan. Salamat po sa mga nag-send ng correct answers, sa nagsipagsalin. Daming nagko-comment, Ma'am Loy, sa mga Ayan na. Okay. Congratulations! Sino partner? Nakita mo ba dyan?
Makita partner, umiikot pa lang eh.
Ay, okay. Sa akin kasi nakahinto. Hindi pa pala pinapaikot. Wala ako pinanalo na. Okay.
Ayan, huminto na, ma'am.
Okay, ayan. Congratulations! Zarika siguro ito, no? Zarika!
Okay, Zarika.
Ayan. Message mo ang iyong subject teacher para sa inyong premyo today. Okay, para may manalo ulit, ibigay na natin ang question number 2. And question number 2, okay, eto na po. Makikita nyo sa inyong screen. Ayan. Which of the following postulates can be used to conclude that the triangles are congruent? Again, which of the following postulates can be used to conclude that the triangles are congruent? A. SSS. B. SAS. C. ASA. D. SAA or AAS. Ano isasend nila, partner, para manalo na sila?
Okay, para manalo ng load, isend lamang po ang inyong name, section, question number 2, answer plus the CP number. Naloloadan po natin. Ulitin natin. Send po your name, section, question number 2, answer, and your CP number. Okay.
Ayan. So, there you have it. Sana mag-join kayo at sana makinig kayo kasi babalik na natin ang ating facilitators. Let's welcome Ma'am Judith S. Camilo for the second part of our discussion. Go, go, go!
Hey, good afternoon sa lahat ng mga nakikinig and of course nanonood ngayon, lalong-lalo na sa lahat ng grade 8 SSC, Aristotle, Copernicus, Socrates, and of course, lahat ng 7 SSC, SA. Manood at makinig mga anak hanggang matapos at makipag-participate. Okay. Sabi dito sa ating, do you need all 6? So, kailangan ba lahat yung 6 kanina na sinabi ni Teacher Loy ay kailangan natin i-prove para masabi na ang dalawang triangle ay congruent? Okay? So the answer is no. Why? We only need 3. Using or supporting this, the postulate SSS, SAS, ASA, and AAS or SAA. So ano nga ba ang mga ito? Ano ibig sabihin ng SSS? So SSS, we have side, or SSS Congruence Postulate. So two triangles are said to be congruent by SSS Postulate if the sides of one triangle are congruent to the sides of the second triangle. Then the triangles are congruent. So for example, we have AB congruent to DE, segment BC congruent to segment EF, and segment CA congruent to segment FD. So since the three sides, now if you have seen here in the figure, makikita natin meron yung AB, meron siyang isang hatch mark or thick mark. So ibig sabihin, hanapin lang natin kung naalin dito sa kabilang triangle yung may parehas. So we have D, E. And then, yung dalawang hatch mark BC, then we have corresponds to EF. Then side AC corresponds to side FD. Therefore, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF by SSS. Okay? So, tignan natin kung nasundan yung sinabi ko kanina na SSS or side-side-side congruence postulate. So, which of the following figures represent the SSS congruence postulate? Okay, pakitype ang inyong sagot sa ating chat box. Is it figure 1, figure number 2, figure number 3, or figure number 4? So, ulitin ko, which of the following figures represents the SSS Congruence Postulate? Pakitype sa ating chat box, anak ang inyong sagot. Okay, may nakikita na ba Ma'am Ella na sagot sa ating chat box?
Ayan, according to TJ Buyutan, figure 3. Zarika, figure 3. Ayan, Sarah Lee, figure 3. Ayan, ang daming sumasagot, ma'am. Ayan, sige, meron pa dito. Nora, figure 3. Ayan. Okay.
Okay, so tingnan natin kung tama.
Geraldine Domingo. Sige, ma'am.
Okay, so ang tamang sagot is figure number 3. Okay, so ibig sabihin na naintindihan ang SSS Congruence Postulate. So, next postulate we have is the SAS or side angle side congruence postulate. So when two triangles are said to be congruent using SAS, both sides and the included angle, take note of the word included angle of one triangle are congruent to the two sides and the included angle of another triangle, then triangles are congruent. Okay? So, makikita ninyo dito, AB or segment AB congruent to segment DE. So, meron silang tag-iisang hatch mark or thick mark. Then, we have angle A congruent to angle D. Meron ding hatch mark na nakalagay doon. Then, segment CA congruent to segment FD. Okay? So when we say included angle, it is the angle between two sides of a triangle. So these two triangles, triangle ABC congruent to triangle DEF by SAS Congruence Postulate. Okay? So, tignan natin, naintindihan kasi napakahalaga ang role ng included angle. We must be able to know or identify which are the included of these three figures. Okay, tignan natin. By typing your answer, which is the included angle of the first triangle? Triangle IGH. Okay, Ma'am Jenny, meron na bang naglagay? Nag-type ng kanyang sagot? Which is the included angle of triangle IGH? Is it angle I, angle G, or angle H? Ma'am Jen? O, mukhang wala. Ma'am Ella, meron na ba?
Okay, magbabasa ako ng comments, ma'am. Mukhang naglalagay lang sila ng section. Section lang daw sila. Okay,
meron
na.
ang inyong sagot.
Ayan.
Si TJ Arimbuyutan Antolin, sabi niya angle eye.
Ayun.
Okay, ang sabi niya
Si Aris
angle
Flores,
eye.
triangle eye naman ang sagot niya.
Triangle eye.
Meron na si Jamie. Jamie May.
Okay, si Jamie
Mel.
Jamie Lamog.
Si Kate
Angle
Pagaway,
G.
dalawa na.
Okay.
Angle G.
So, it's angle G. Why angle G? Sabi natin kanina, ano ang AI included angle? It is the angle between the two sides of a triangle. Since ang may marka dito, mga anak, is IG at saka HG, ano yung included angle niya? Okay? Meron silang common endpoint. That is the point G. At yun ang nabuong angle vertex ay angle G. Okay? What about figure number 2? Okay. Which angle, based on the thick mark used or given in triangle HIG, which is the included angle. So, alin dito ang included angle? Angle G pa rin ba? Okay, pakitype ang inyong comment o sagot sa ating chat box.
Ay, pumasok na po na sagot. Si Zara May Berioso, angle eye.
Okay, very good. So, it's angle I. What about in the third figure? Is it angle G, angle I, or angle H? Okay, tingnan natin mga anak kung nasaan ang merong mga hatch mark at alin doon ang included angle ng dalawang side na may hatch mark.
Arian faker natin, H.
Okay,
Angle H.
Okay, Christian
so
Bautista, H.
Okay, very good.
Angle
It
H.
is angle H. Okay, tignan natin kung naintindihan na ang SAS. So, what additional information is required to prove that two triangles are congruent by SAS? Okay? So, kung makikita natin sa figure sa ating mga screen, mga anak, meron tayong given na corresponding sides na kung saan meron tayong dalawang hatch mark at meron ding isang hatch mark. So, ibig sabihin, ang IJ congruent siya sa HJ. At ang FJ congruent din siya sa KJ. Now, ano yung additional information dito para masasabi natin na ang dalawang triangle na ito ay congruent by SAS? Is it letter A, B, C, or D? Okay, pakitype po ang ating sagot sa ating chat box. Okay, meron na po ba?
Okay.
So, ano yung additional information mga anak para itong triangle na ito? Sabi natin, IJ congruent siya sa HJ. KJ congruent siya sa FJ. So, dalawang side na. So, ano yung ikatlo na corresponding parts para maging congruent itong dalawang triangle na ito, IJK at saka HJF by SAS congruence?
Dami ang sumagot mo, pero panay A.
Oo, Rendell
Panay A.
Oo.
Kasi nasa given na, mga anak, ang JK at saka JF. Given na yon. Ano yung kailangan pa natin aside from that given? Okay, so, wala? Okay. So, the answer is, kasi sides,
Angle.
Ang nawawala, angle. Kasi meron tayong side at saka side. 'Di ba? Sabi ko kanina. Ngayon, ang nawawala na lang angle. So, i-eliminate natin ang choices number ay letter A at saka C. Is it B or D?
Yeah. Gio din tao, letter B.
Okay, meron na.
Gio, ang sabi niya, it's letter B.
Letter B.
So, ang included angle natin, okay, don't forget, the included angle IJK and HJF. Okay? Ayun. Okay, maliwanag na po ba? So, yun yung nawawalang information para itong triangle na ito ay congruent by SAS Congruence Postulate. Okay?
Okay, let us continue. Hello, naririnig pa rin ako, ma'am?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Judith. Diniscuss ni Ma'am Judith yung two first congruence postulate na SSS saka SAS. Sa akin naman ngayon, ang dalawang congruence postulate at isa dito ay yung ASA. Huwag tayong umaasa. Okay? So, ASA or A side or ASA or side angle congruence postulate. So if two angles and the included side of one triangle are congruent to two angles and included side of another triangle, then the two triangles are congruent. Okay. So, meron tayong term dito na included side naman. Kanina ay included angle. Okay? So, ano yung mga given natin dito para itong dalawang triangle natin ay maging congruent using angle side angle. So, we have here angle A congruent to angle D and side AB congruent to side DE and angle B congruent to angle E. So we can now say that these two triangles are congruent, triangle ABC congruent to triangle DEF by angle side angle congruence postulate. Naintindihan ba itong congruence postulate na ito, mga anak? Okay, emphasize din natin ang tinatawag nating included side. So when we say included side, the side common to two angles or the side between two angles. Let us look at the first illustration. We have the two angles, angle A, angle I, and angle G. So what is common to angle I and angle G? So that is side GI or IG. So either side or segment GI or segment IG. Okay, the next illustration, we have angle I and angle H, I should say. So what is common or what is between angle I and angle H? So we have side HI or IH. And in the third illustration, we have angle G and angle H. So what is the side common to both of these two angles? We have side GH or HG. Nakuha ba, mga anak? Okay, we have here an exercises. Name the included side. So given the triangle YES, angle Y and angle E. So what is the included side of angle Y and angle E? Ganun din, pakitype ang inyong mga sagot sa ating chat box kung alam ang sagot ng first question natin. What is the included side between angle Y and angle E? So ano ang sagot? Meron na bang sumagot, Ma'am Ella?
Ayan, Jamie Mialamog, side YE.
Okay.
Sabi niya po.
Meron pa ba? Side YE? Dapat
Gerson
capital letter.
YE. Ari,
Capital
side
Y.
YE. Arian Faye, side YE, side EY.
Okay, very good, very good. So that is side YE.
Yan.
Capital letter, dapat ang letter Y at letter E. Parang may nakita kasi akong small letter yung ginamit kanina, Ma'am Ella.
Oo, meron nga, ma'am.
Okay. Take note mga anak, this should be written capital letter Y, capital letter E. Okay? Another. How about the side between angle E and angle S?
Okay, check natin.
Meron na ba, mga anak? May nag-answer na, Ma'am Ella?
Zara May Beriozo, side ES.
Okay, side.
Elizabeth Fernandez, side ES.
Okay,
Sweetel,
congratulations
side
mga
ES.
anak. Very
Kate Magawa
good.
ay side ES.
Okay,
Yan.
very good.
Pelvita,
Side
side
ES.
ES.
Okay,
marami,
thank you
ma'am.
very much. And the last, angle S and angle Y. What is the included angle of angle S and angle Y?
Okay.
Included side, I should say. What is the included side pala of angle S
Rita,
and angle Y?
side SY. Pero maliit yung Y. Sarah Lee, side SY. Ariane Faye, side SY. PJ, angle SY.
Side
Side
Okay,
SY.
this should be side SY. Congratulations sa mga tamang sagot. Okay, let's
Yes.
proceed. Okay, another triangle congruence postulate is the angle side, or we also have it side angle congruence postulate. If two angles and a non-included side of one triangle are congruent to the corresponding angles and side of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. We have here given angle A congruent to angle D. Another is angle B congruent to angle E. And side BC congruent to side EF. So, based from the given conditions, we can say that these two triangles, triangle ABC and triangle DEF, are congruent based on AAS or SAA congruence postulate. Angle side. Take note, non-included side yung isa. Iba ito doon sa angle side angle. Okay? Another is the reflexive side and reflexive angles. What do we mean by reflexive? Meron tayong property na tinatawag na reflexive property. It is just looking yourself at the mirror. Siyempre, ang makikita mo sa harap ng salamin ay yung mismong sarili mo. So, reflexive property is a quantity equal to itself. Any number is equal to itself. So, reflexive side and reflexive angle naman dito sa triangle. So, when two triangles overlap, there may be additional congruent parts. One of these is the reflexive side, meaning the shared side of the two triangles. So dito, meron tayong dalawang triangle na nag-overlap. Makikita nyo dito sa side na ito ay nag-share yung dalawang triangle. So ang tawag natin dito ay reflexive side. Therefore, this side is equal to itself. Okay? And the other one is reflexive angle. So pagka yung dalawang triangle ay nag-overlap, meron din tayong shared angle. At itong angle na ito, of course, automatic, they are congruent. Okay? Okay. State if the two triangles are congruent. If they are, which postulate supports your answer? Okay. Number 1. Sorry. Ipapa-answer ba natin ito, Ma'am Judith, sa ating comment box?
Okay, ano ba?
Halimbawa sa number 1, ay bigay na kasi kanina. Okay, halimbawa sa
Yes,
number 1, meron tayong triangle dito na nag-overlap. So, we have this triangle, yung nasa taas. At makikita nyo, meron silang shared side. So, anong congruence postulate ang pwede nating magamit that support that these are congruent triangles? Okay, so ang sagot natin ay ASA. Kasi, meron tayong congruent angle. Okay? At congruent side dito sa shared side nila. Kaya, these two triangles are congruent by ASA. Angle, side, angle. Okay, another. Number 2. Paano naman itong number 2 figure natin? Okay, paki-comment nga sa ating chat box kung anong congruence postulate ang pwede nating magamit dito sa figure number 2. Okay, meron tayong two sides na congruent at meron silang shared angle. So, anong congruence postulate ang pwede nating magamit dito, mga anak? Meron na bang nag-comment, Ma'am Janice?
Wait po, ma'am, at i-check po natin.
Two sides at yung shared angle nila ang congruent.
Ano po, ma'am, ang nakikita ko po dito, puro po sila AAS.
AAS? Dalawang angle ba ang given natin? Baka yan yung una pa lang kanina, kaya yan. Pakit-comment nga ang number 2 kung number 2 na tayo sa figure. Sinasagot natin yung figure number 2.
Ayan, okay na po, ma'am. May pumasok
number 2,
na.
may pumasok na sa sagot.
Bayaan, Nicole Galang, SAS.
Okay, tama. This is SAS. Kasi itong dalawang side at yung kanilang shared angle ang congruent. Ito. So, side, angle, side, side, angle, side. Ako, ha? Okay. Next, number 3 figure. O, pakitype ang number 3 tapos yung sagot ninyo sa ating figure number 3. Anong congruence postulate ang pwede nating magamit dito sa figure number 3?
Ayan, ma'am, si Elizabeth Mendoza Fernandez, SSS.
SSS, okay. Meron pa bang ibang sagot, Ma'am Janice?
Sino ba to? Bea Angela Tauyan, SSA. Ba't may SSA?
Ba't may SSA? Okay, take note mga anak. We have only SSS, SAS, ASA, and AAS. So, sa number 3, kung titignan ninyo ang given, sa given pa lang alam nyo na anak ko, merong tick marks ang mga side. walang naguhitan sa angle, di ba? Kaya automatic na yung gamitin nyo ay yung side, side, side. Okay, nasaan yung isang side na pareho nila? Hindi naman, wala namang isa pang side na nalagyan ng tick marks. Automatic na yung shared side nila ay equal sila dito. So, we have it side, side, side congruence postulate. And the last, ay second to the last. Meron ba tayong nakikitang pwedeng magamit to prove that these two triangles are congruent? Number 4 na tayo mga anak. Tignan ninyo yung nalagyan ng tick marks. Okay, itong side na ito ay congruent dito. Yung angle at saka yung angle. Ano pa yung ikatlo na equal nila? So ito yon, yung shared side nila. So among the 4 congruence postulate, ano ang pwede nating magamit dito? Okay, may sumagot ba, Ma'am Janice?
Si Jamie Miel Lamog, SAS.
SAS ba ang tawag dito?
Feliarita, AAS. Geraldine, SAA. Magkakaiba po sila mga nagsagot.
Magkakaiba. Kasi nalito na sila. Tingnan natin. Okay, wala. Wala tayong pwedeng magamit doon sa 4, mga anak. Kasi hindi naman sila yung ASA, hindi naman included side yung given natin dito na isang side. 'Di ba? We have this angle, this side, at dito naman yung isang side natin. So magkakaiba kasi yung pwede. Dito sa first triangle natin, we have itong side na ito congruent to this side. So hindi natin pwedeng masundan yung side, angle side kasi hindi naman included angle yung given natin. Napapansin nyo? Nakikita nyo ba yung difference nito, anak? So hindi natin pwedeng gamitin dito ang angle side angle. Ganon din yung angle side kasi hindi naman consecutive yung dalawang angle natin. Nakukuha ba? Okay. So in the last one, figure number 5, ano ang pwede nating magamit dito sa figure number 5 to prove that the two triangles are congruent? Okay, may nag-answer na ba ng number 5, Ma'am Janice?
Yun ma'am, may sumagot po una si Zara May Berrioso, ASA.
ASA, very good. It is ASA. Asan dito yung mga congruent parts natin? We have this angle, this side, at saka yung angle na ito. Okay. Angle, side, at saka yung angle na ito. Paano natin masasabi na itong dalawang angle na ito na ay congruent? Itong part na ito. So ito ay vertical angles. Malalaman natin o napag-aralan ninyo na vertical angles are always congruent. Nakuha ba? O itutuloy ni Ma'am Judith para sa ating susunod na exercises bago natin sagutin ang ating question number 2. Ma'am Judith?
Okay. So, dito naman, what additional information is required in order to know that the triangles are congruent for the reason given? Okay. So, ito kasi yung, kumbaga mga anak, kailangan nating alamin lahat ng mga ito para pag nakarating tayo sa proving using two-column method or the flow chart in proving two triangles, alam natin kung anong reason. Hindi kasi pwedeng sabihin natin na congruent sila by looking at simply the figure. Wrong. Kung wala tayong basis, kagaya kanina yung sabi ni Teacher Loy, na vertical angles. So, kailangan masabi natin na congruent sila dahil they are vertical. Congruent yung dalawang side dahil sila ay reflexive. Okay? So, dito sa unang natin, what additional information is required? So, meron na tayong angle dito. Angle DTU at angle STU ay meron ng marka or thick mark, hatch mark. So, ibig sabihin, given na yan. Okay? Given na yan na congruent sila. Then, you have noticed, we have also common side. They shared a common side and that is side TU or T. Okay? Kasi equal na sila. What is the additional statement or information para masabi na natin na ang triangle DUT at SUT ay congruent by ASA? Okay? So, we
isang
have
angle na lang. Oo, hahanapin
okay, isang
nila yung
angle
isang
na lang.
angle.
Isang angle na. Kasi angle side. Kung makikita ninyo angle side. So ang nawawala isang angle. So alin sa angle na ng triangle DUT at triangle SUT ang nawawala? Okay, paki-reveal na Ma'am Loy kasi we are running of time. So angle TUD congruent to TUS. Dito mga anak, hindi pwedeng i-type lang ninyo angle U. Though it is one way of naming an angle is using the vertex. But meron tayong exemption to the rule. Na kapag maraming angle na yun ay pare-parehas ang vertex, hindi natin pwedeng gamitin o pangalanan yung angle na yun using the vertex. So, ulitin ko, hindi natin pwedeng sabing angle U to angle U. Which angle we are referring to? Is it angle TUD, SUT, or TUS? Kasi meron tayong tatlong angle na kung saan U ang kanyang vertex. So, we must name the angle using 3 letters. Kung may number sana dito na nakalagay, okay lang. Now, we can name it using a number. So, we have angle TUD congruent to TUS. Yun yung pawala. Okay? Next, we have, okay, what is the additional information needed? Ano pa yung kailangan nating i-prove para itong dalawang triangle naman na ito, triangle RQS, ay congruent siya sa DSQ by SSS. So, meron na tayong given RQ congruent to DS. And meron din tayong common side SQ congruent to QS. What is the other side? Ano pa yung nawawala para masabi mga anak, ang triangle na ito RQS at DSQ ay congruent by SSS. Okay? So we have the third side or the other information needed is the RS congruent to DQ. Yun ang kailangan nating i-prove. Then, last figure we have, okay, SAS naman ngayon. So, ang given natin ay UV congruent siya sa KV. Bakit natin nasabing congruent? Dahil sa tick mark na kalagay. So, given na. Then, we have also which angle? Pwede ba nating sabihin na ang angle W congruent sa angle M? Hindi. Wala tayong basihan, mga anak. even angle U at saka angle K. Hindi pwedeng sabihin, ma'am, angle U and angle K are congruent. Why? What is the reason? We don't have any basis. So, ang nandito, we have angle UVW at saka KVM. Dahil ito ay vertical angles. Kagaya ng sabi ni Teacher Loy kanina, all vertical angles are always congruent. At ano yung pangatlong side or information para masabi natin na itong triangle na ito ay congruent by SAS? We need to prove, okay, segment VW congruent to segment VM. Yun yung nawawala. Yun yung additional information para maging SAS. Okay, back to you, Ma'am Ruela.
Okay, thank you so much po sa ating learning facilitators. Ready na po ang ating ruleta para sa question number 2. And the correct answer is, partner, anong correct answer dito?
Answer is letter C.
Ayan.
ASA.
So, congratulations po sa lahat ng nag-send the correct answers. Ito na po ang ating ruleta. So, habang niro-roll ang ating ruleta, gusto po namin pasalamatan ng ating sponsor sa ating load, Ma'am. Ayan.
Larna.
Sige, ayan na ang ating ruleta. Sige. Okay, congratulations. Meron na ba? Medyo bumabagal kasi sa akin dito.
Meron na, ma'am. Si Daniel May Sardegna.
Daniel May
Okay,
Sardegna.
congratulations, Daniel May Sardegna. Meron pa ba tayong summary, Ma'am Judith?
Dahil overtime na po tayo, bibigay na lang natin ang summary of the lesson sa ating Usap Tayo session.
Okay, so abangan ang summary sa Usap Tayo session. Maraming salamat po, Ma'am Larna Nevada sa ating load. And we would like to thank our production team, our facilitators, Teacher Lori Lee Vinitura, and Teacher Judith S. Gamilo, our presentation designer, Teacher Judith S. Gamilo, and presenter, Teacher Lori Lee ba, ma'am? Tama ba?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Electronic raffle organizer, DTI natin dyan, Teacher Mylene J. Ralutin, Teacher Mardy C. De La Cruz, and Teacher Jenny Carino. May gusto ka bang pasalamatan dyan, partner? Kabilisan.
Ayan, gusto din nating pasalamatan ang ating gwapong-gwapong technical specialist, si Teacher Joshel Rezon Guillermo, Quality Assurance Officer, Mami Merlinda D. Dante, Head Teacher 5 of the Math Department. Salamat din po, Ma'am Ruby Guillermo, our Assistant School Principal, and our OIC, the Chief Education Supervisor of the Division of Isabela, Sir Rodrigo V. Pascua. Thank you po.
Yan. My name is Teacher Roella S. Santos, and my partner is
Teacher Janice Bilt Simon.
Thank you for staying with us. See you again next time on
Math Alive sa Facebook Live.
Bye! Thank you po. Congratulations sa lahat.
Pre-calculus, advanced algebra, intermediate algebra, trigonometry, elementary algebra, geometry. Mga araling dapat tuklasin. Mathematics Learning Area. Mathematics kahit saan, kahit kailan. Mathematics, maaasahan, inyong tututukan dito sa 106.3 DWDR-FM. Basta Dance Radio, learning is amazing! Ito ang 106.3 Dance Radio. Dance Radio.
Prepare yourself.
Ang silid-aralan sa radyo. Hatid namin ay makabagong paraan ng pagtuturo at kaalaman. Mapaumaga, tanghali o hapon man yan. Ang istasyong magbibigay impormasyon kahit saan man.
For something big. All right, here we go.
106.3 Dance Radio. Doña Aurora National High School, Santa Rita, Aurora, Isabela.
This
106.3 DWBR FM.